Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fan, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434 and mention Rob for a free attic inspection. Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com, sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow. Welcome back to the Rob Kendall Show, joined by one of the best reporters in the business from the Indiana Capital Chronicle, the great Niki Kelly. Hello.
Hello.
So let's start with this incredible reporting that you guys did last week on, you guys should totally get an award. I don't know which one, but several, on how much money Diego Morales, Indiana Secretary of State, wasted on these unused vehicle history reports.
Yeah, so that story is just sort of what we're proudest of in the sense of just accountability journalism. It was a program they announced last year. We had our intern at the time do a little quick story on they're going to offer these free reports. And then, we added it on a list somewhere that said, hey, we should check back on this.
Is that how it works?
Yeah. And so after session ended, we were kind of looking at our list. And I said, we need to check on this. And honestly, it was a little worse than I expected.
It was horrible.
Yeah. So basically the way it works is they sign this contract that requires them to pay a minimum amount of $23,800 a month, which is basically 10,000 vehicle history reports. And then if more, then they have to pay them at that same rate or whatever. But
do you know why they bought so many? I mean, it's 120,000.
It's a lot.
They used 2,150 according to you guys.
Right.
Is there any idea why they bought so many of these?
I don't know. I will say the first couple months of the contract was a little looser. There was no minimum, but then once that transition period started, it was the minimums. They obviously, people aren't ordering them. To me, the even more important part is they had a program that clearly wasn't really going anywhere, and they extended the contract for another year. Now they did drop the amount to $8,500 a month. But no, yeah, $8,500 a month.
That's per month.
That's per month.
So let's put some perspective on this. For the year, they only used $2,100. They knew this, and then their response is, well, let's do $8,500 a month.
Yeah, that was their response.
So I kind of did public school math very quickly. And by the way, we said this last week. This is why you guys are phenomenal, because that story wouldn't have come out anywhere else other than the Capital Chronicle. We did the math, and we basically came up with something like $320,000, if you're being generous, was just not used, was purchased but not used. Because you guys, it was a little over $5,000 in terms of actual service use.
When you did the math for the first contract year, which was $333,000 divided by the $2,150, basically they paid $155 per report.
And it's 20 to 25 on the open market.
Right.
Did they give you any reason why they even did the program to begin with? I mean, it's a service that's clearly readily available.
Right. And I mean, they said they're trying to help consumers, but obviously consumers haven't gotten that message yet. I did notice yesterday that on their Twitter feed was a thing about your free auto check report. So maybe they're going to start, publicizing it a little more. And people always ask, and the Secretary of State's office does this a lot, is they say, well, this isn't like taxpayer money. These are fees. These are like fees and fines that our office gets from people we regulate. But I do think, that's still taxpayer money, right?
Yes.
Because that money could otherwise be going to pay salaries, which could reduce, say, the general fund appropriation. So it's all in the same boat.
And it makes people angry at a time where they say there's no money for roads. We're canceling all these projects. We got a toll for $6.5 billion. And then it's like, okay, well, we just found 300,000. Thank you. And you hit the nail on the head. And I went through this years ago at the school referendum in Brownsburg. They had hired this consultant and they paid him like $60,000. And their excuse was, well, it's not taxpayer money. It came out of our Coke fund, the money we get from people buying soft drinks at the school. And it was like, that's our money. Any money that comes in is our money. And I think you guys did a great job of exposing. They don't see it that way.
Yeah.
They don't see it that way. Niki Kelly from the Indiana Capital Chronicle is our guest. Okay, so you guys did more fabulous reporting. Last week on the show, I had said, okay, there is this group. They're running radio ads against these incumbent senators that voted against redistricting. I said, something is amiss with this, though, because there's no call to action. They're not saying vote for or vote against.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to be curious who this is. Well, as usual, you guys were first. You found out who it was.
Yeah, it's a group that's affiliated with U.S. Senator Jim Banks, and they've raised a lot of money. Because it's a nonprofit, they don't have to tell us who their donors are, as opposed to, say, a political action committee that then buys ads to say, this candidate is terrible, don't vote for them. Then we can see where their money comes from. But it's a nonprofit. So there are some nonprofit rules on what you can do with politics. And that's why these ads are very specifically focusing on, basically they're saying like, so-and-so, Jim Buck or Travis Holdman, they voted for a gas tax increase and they voted against redistricting. And you should call your lawmaker and tell them to reduce our gas taxes.
Yeah.
And so that's how they're getting around it being technically a campaign finance expenditure. It's issue oriented.
Yeah. And so you don't know who's given them money.
Correct.
They're basically running, and I'm not saying they're doing anything nefarious by the way the rules are written, but they're basically running political ads, but they don't have to tell you who gave them the money.
Correct. Yeah, they're not technically doing anything wrong. They're following the rules, but it is definitely a loophole in the law that we've allowed these issue nonprofits to weigh in on politics and not call it a campaign expenditure.
It's just another example of how stupid all of our campaign finance rules are, right? I mean, we should know who's paying for this, like we should know who's paying for everything. We got to change this because now you have no idea.
Yeah, that one has grown. That little loophole has grown a ton in the last 4 or 5 years.
It's a brilliant move.
And part of it is because the IRS is the one who would have to go after nonprofit status. And I mean, they're just not, I guess, hammering down on some of this.
Now, you guys track this down. I love the detail you guys do in the reporting. This group, Hoosier Leadership for America, is registered with the IRS as a nonprofit organization. And then I love this. Based out of a single-family home on Fort Wayne's northeast side.
Yep.
You think of it like it's some mega corp. It's some guy, right?
Totally.
And you think they're tied into Banks because they hosted some event with Banks.
They are, and he has a similar PAC with kind of a similar name. He has headlined several of their events, and he's been coming out against these current Senate Republican incumbents and trying to work against them.
Are you surprised at how, because let's face it, it's hard to beat an incumbent. And some of these people, Spencer Deary, Greg Good, they kind of seem liked in their communities. Are you surprised at how out there guys like Banks and Rokita have been on this? Because if they lose, it looks bad for them, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely putting their political capital in it, right? I mean, this group told Politico that they expect to spend $3 million on these these like 5 to 7 Senate races.
This nonprofit group.
Yeah.
So they're going to spend $3 million, which is a massive amount of money in a state like Indiana, where media is cheap relative to California or New York.
Especially if you're buying, Facebook ads and YouTube ads and not like broadcast TV.
And they don't have to disclose any of it.
Nope. And I thought Senator Deary had a good point in our story today, which was, imagine if they put that $3 million into Congressional District 1.
Bingo.
And tried to flip, a race, and because this is all about redistricting, which they wanted, but.
Right. And I kind of like Deary. He voted against the property tax bill. He seems like an all right guy. He used to come on our old show. Are these senators worried about any of this? Because at some point, Rod Bray's going to step up and help these guys out, right?
Well, the Senate Majority Committee is definitely going to support the incumbents, and they've got a fair amount of money. I mean, they don't have millions to give. So I think some of this money, I thought we also have started seeing some Club for Growth mailers. They're more focused on like, we like this person, they're Trump endorsed, as opposed to, because they're traditional campaign expenditures. So we're starting to see that come in. There was another group, Fair Maps, that got involved during the redistricting fight. I haven't yet seen anything from them, but, yeah.
Niki Kelly from the Capital Chronicle, our guest. Couple minutes left with her. By the way, these stories we're talking about, you can find them all at IndianaCapitalChronicle.com. So the governor and the Secretary of State have partnered up with Turning Point USA.
Yep.
You guys covered the Secretary of State's announcement, the governor's presser. I have no idea what they're actually doing. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck about that. Do you know what the actual deal is?
It's very undefined. I mean, it's a partnership, and especially the governor's was like, here's a proclamation on why we think these groups are great, and we think schools should not stand in the way and let these, other than that, I don't think there's any like state resources going toward it or formalized partnership. The Secretary of State is doing a little more formal with voter registration drives. And obviously Turning Point is a nonprofit as well, clearly aligned with conservative values. And so I think, some advocates have, or, for more progressive or liberal sides have said, hey, let's just make sure we're being even about this, right?
Well, how do they get around this? Because Turning Point USA was actively out recruiting people to run in these. I mean, I know people who were called by Turning Point USA. They're clearly a political arm. I don't care what their tax status is. How are you going to say legally, let them in, and then I'd say BLM, ACLU, Planned Parenthood, who all have voter registration track records? How is that going to hold up?
Yeah, I mean, those groups, if they would reach out to the Secretary of State and try to get a similar partnership, they would have an interesting argument to make, right? Now, when Governor Braun was asked about that last week, he basically said, liberal groups have been doing this for years, and we're just catching up and doing the same thing they are, so...
that is wild to me.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild. Best in the business. You guys do so much great work. We wouldn't even have a show without you. IndianaCapitalChronicle.com is the website. The great Niki Kelly, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Buying a home or thinking about refinancing? Work with someone local who understands the central Indiana market. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps homebuyers and homeowners explore options for purchasing, refinancing, or even consolidating higher interest debt through their mortgage. Gary's approach is simple, clear advice, and personalized guidance, so you can make confident decisions. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more or get started today. You've got nothing to lose but dollars on your mortgage payment. So call for a free, no-obligation quote, 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow, NMLS number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.